Hey, girls, boys, Mom, Kaya, fish, kitties. New book, new night, new book. Got the Goonies. This is a movie too, I think. If it's based on the movie, I don't know. I don't remember the movie. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Let's read the book today though. It's got really nice illustrations in it. So, the Goonies. Like this pirate ship on the title page. I guess it doesn't have to be a pirate ship. It's maybe just a ship. Let's find out. Let's see to talk about it. Mikey Walsh grew up in the Goondocks with his big brother, Brand. Can you see the pictures? No, you can do more like that. There. It was where he met the Goonies, the best friends a kid could ever have. With the Goonies, a rainy day could still be loads of fun. And hopping on a bike could begin an adventure. Mikey's friend Mouth had come over to spend one last weekend together before they all had to move. The Goondocks were the only home Mikey had ever known. But he was about to leave it forever. Mikey's house was going to be torn down, along with all the other houses in Goondocks. His friend Chuck, another Goonie, was about to lose his house too. Mikey pulled a card, setting off a chain reaction that ended with the front gate swinging open so Chuck could enter. You want to come inside? You gotta do the truffle shuffle. Look, he's got this contraption set up that opens the gate. Chuck was eager to tell his friends about a wild police chase he'd seen. He didn't know at the time that the police had been chasing a dangerous crime family known as the Fred Ellis. Fred Ellis? I think it's Fred Ellis. Suddenly the boys heard a sound. That crazy chase. The Fratellas? Probably the Fratellas. Fratellas. Sorry your dad can't read. Their friend Dada was ziplining from his roof to Mikey's house. Dada crashed through the screen door and landed on a heap on the floor. All of the Goonies were together for the last time, but what could they do? Mouth had an idea. The attic was filled with things Mikey's dad had brought home from his museum. Maybe there was something cool up there the boys could keep to remember the Goondocks. Maybe. Look at the zip line. That must have been fun. Or scary. In the attic, Mikey found an old picture frame. The dust on it was so thick he could hardly see what was inside. Mikey handed the frame to Chuck. Then he waited. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, crash! True to form, Chuck dropped the frame, shattering the glass. A map and a gold coin were inside. Ooh, that's a pretty good find. The gold coin was more than a coin. It was a doublet. And the map was more than a map. It was a treasure map that once belonged to the pirate One-Eyed Willie. Just then, the men who were tearing down all the houses in the Goondocks stopped by to see Mikey's parents. Luckily, they weren't at home. Mikey knew something had to be done to stop the men. The treasure map could be his chance. The Goonies tied up Bran so he couldn't stop them. They took off to find the treasure. If the Goonies could find One-Eyed Willie's rich stuff, they would have more than enough money to save their homes. They wouldn't have to leave the Goondocks, and they would all be together. They'd all get to stay together. That's a good idea. Make a bunch of money, buy all the land. The map led the Goonies to the beach. Mikey held up the Dublin he'd found. When Mikey saw the rocks and the lighthouse through the Dublin, he knew they were in the right spot. Look at here. The map instructed them to walk 100 paces. That would put them right inside the old abandoned restaurant. Look at that place. Looks scary. That's silly. While Mikey, Mouth, and Dada searched for a way in, Chuck went to look for soda, but found the car he'd seen the police chasing earlier. It was covered in bullet holes. Chuck raced over to warn his friends, but he was too late. They'd gone into the restaurant. As the door slammed shut behind them, the boys found themselves face to face with Mama Fratelli, the evil criminal, and her cruel sons Jake and Francis were using the restaurant as a hideout. Mikey knew One-Eyed Willie's treasure had to be close. He begged to use the bathroom, and Mama Fratelli reluctantly agreed. Mikey raced down the stairs. At the bottom, he heard a loud growl behind a door. Peeking inside, he saw a big, scary man locked in chains. Terrified, Mikey ran away. Suddenly, a hand closed over his mouth. Brand was there to take the boys home. Brand's friends, Steve and Andy, joined them just as they were leaving, but Mikey wasn't willing to give up. It's our last chance to see if there's really any rich stuff. Just then, the Fratellis got into their car and drove away. The restaurant was empty. This really was their chance. What do you think? You think they'll find some riches in there? Back in the basement, Mikey heard water running down a drain and found a hidden tunnel under the fireplace. At that moment, the Fratellis came back. Meanwhile, Chuck found a freezer full of ice cream and something else. It's a stiff. At that moment, the Fratellis came back. Panicked, the boys shoved the freezer door shut, accidentally leaving Chuck inside with the body. Oh, scary. Chuck, go get the police. With no other way out, the group escaped into the tunnel. The Goonies followed the tunnel to a room full of pipes. Mouth realized that if they banged on the pipes hard enough, someone above ground might hear them. They banged and they banged, screaming for help above them. Water shot out everywhere, but no help came. Suddenly the pipes burst, spraying water everywhere and forcing them to run. A short while later, the Goonies found a lantern and came face to face with the skeleton. It was Chester Copperpot, an explorer who had disappeared trying to find One-Eyed Willie's treasure. Chester Copperpot was a professional, and he didn't make it as far as them. Mikey was now more certain than ever that they were on the right trail. Just then, Mikey saw something on the ground. He lifted it and found a long wire. It was a booby trap. Slice of that. Ooh. Mikey dropped the wire, but it was too late. Crash! Giant boulders crashed towards the ground, right where the Goonies were standing. Whoa, they narrowly escaped. Scary, scary stuff. Meanwhile, Chuck was able to escape from the Fratellis basement. Once he was outside, he flagged down a car for help, but it was the Fratellis. They grabbed him and dragged him back to the restaurant. Mama Fratelli forced Chuck to admit that his friends went into the fireplace to search for the buried treasure. When the Fratellis hauled Chuck to his feet, the Dublin fell from his pocket. Having gotten what she needed from Chuck, Mama Fratelli locked him up with the other son, the scary man Mikey had seen. Chuck was terrified until he realized that the man, whose name was Sloth, was gentle and kind. Plus, he loved chocolate, just like Chuck. Now, who doesn't love chocolate? Chocolate's delicious. Meanwhile, the Goonies found a waterfall filled with coins. But it wasn't One-Eyed Willie's treasure, it was the bottom of the town's wishing well. The boys eagerly gathered up the coins, but Steve stopped them. These are somebody else's wishes. This one right here was my dream, my wish, and it didn't come true, so I'm taking it back. I'm taking them all back. Suddenly, the kids heard voices above them. There was a way out, but Mikey didn't want to leave. He wanted to find the treasure. The next time you see Sky, it'll be over another town. The next time you take a test, it'll be some other school. Our parents, they want the best of stuff for us. But right now, they gotta do what's right for them. We gotta do what's right for them. Down here, it's our time. The Goonies agreed. That was a convincing speech. He's like, hey, we better keep searching. A riddle on the map led Mikey to believe that an artifact he had taken from Chester Copperpot might be their next clue. Clearing away some moss, he found a rock wall with stones sticking out of it. Mikey set the artifact over the stones and tunneled the rocks. Another booby trap. Look at where they went here. Suddenly the floor fell away, taking Dada with it. As he fell, Dada tugged a cord on his jacket. A pair of chattering teeth shot out of his sleeve. Hear that? Pulled cord, chattering teeth come out. And those chattering teeth do what, do you think? What do you think they do? The teeth grabbed hold of a rock above him. I've been saved by my pinchers of power. Back in the basement, Chuck and Sloth broke free. Chuck rushed to the phone to call the police. Sheriff, look, this time I'm telling you the truth. Just like the last time, little prank with all the little creatures that multiply when you throw water on them. But he had told so many crazy stories in the past that the sheriff did not believe him. Sloth, get back here. Suddenly, Sloth took off towards the fireplace. Chuck followed him, pulling the phone off the wall. His connection with the police was lost. Sloth and Chuck would have to save the Goonies themselves. So, you think you can do it? Let's find out. Back underground, the Goonies were crossing an old log over a rushing river when they heard voices behind them. It was the Fratellis. Oh no, bad guys again are coming to get them. Dada had an idea. Slick shoes moving across the log. He sprayed oil from his shoes behind him. The moment the Fratellis stepped on the log, they slipped and fell. A giant piano made out of bones was at the other end of the log. On the back of the map was a set of music notes. They had to play the bones. With each correct note, Andy hit a bridge slowly lowered, but with each wrong note, parts of the ground fell away. Andy hit the last set of notes as the Fratellis closed in on them. Whew. The bridge came down and the Goonies raced across, sliding down a watering tunnel. They landed in a large lagoon inside a cavern. They did it. They found One-Eye Willie's pirate ship. Whoa, that's pretty cool. The Goonies climbed aboard and discovered a room filled with gold and beautiful sparkling jewels. At the head of the table sat a skeleton of One-Eyed Willie. You know something, Willie? You're the first Goonie. They had found the rich stuff. Now they could save their homes and stay in Goondocks. One-Eyed Willie may have been the first Goonie, but Mikey and his friends wouldn't be the last. Turning the pages. They're really thick pages. It's a really nice book. Mikey told them to load up anything that they could fit in their pockets. Dad reached for the gold in front of Willie, but Mikey stopped him. Except that's Willie's. The others nodded and began filling their pockets, looking for extra room. Mikey dumped out his marbles and filled his marble bag with jewels. Meanwhile, nobody noticed that the Fratellis had come aboard. Without a second thought, they forced the kids to empty their pockets and walk the plank. The Goonies couldn't believe it. The Fratellis had won. Just then, Chuck and Sloth showed up to save them. Hey, you guys! But even with their help, the Goonies knew they would never win against the Fratellis. They jumped off the boat to escape. Brand, we can't go. We can't leave all that gold. That's our future. If we stay here, we got no future. We'll come back for it later. After remembering how badly his family had treated them, Sloth tied up Jake and Francis and threw Mama Fratelli overboard. Then he went to join the Goonies. There was just one problem. A rock slide had covered the only way out. Sloth moved a huge rock out of the way so the Goonies could slide outside to safety. Back in the pirate ship, the Fratellis had gotten free. They lifted a pile of Willie's gold, releasing the last booby trap. The ship shook and began to move. The Fratellis had to get out of there, too. When they emerged, they found the police were waiting for them. Oh, so they jumped off the ship to get free, and then look, they got caught anyway. On the beach, Mikey and Bran found their parents waiting for them. The family hugged each other close. Suddenly, the two men showed up, demanding that Mikey's dad sign the papers to turn over the house. Mikey couldn't believe it. He'd had the gold in his hands, and he'd lost it, or so he thought. Mr. Walsh was about to sign the papers when the Goonies began yelling. They had forgotten about Mikey's marble bag. Inside were enough jewels to pay for all the Goonies' houses. They didn't have to leave the Goondocks. That's good news. One-Eye Willie's last booby trap had set the ship free. It broke out of the cape, heading into open water. The Goonies watched the ship sail away, happy to know that One-Eye Willie was going home too. The end. Well, I hope you enjoyed the illustrated storybook of the Goonies. I'll mail it very soon. I love you guys so much. I'll see you soon. Bye.